Welcome back to Rubbing Minds. Now, these days, it seems like there's an answer for every question you might have on the internet, whether it's knowing the right prompt for AI to answer, or it's doing a search, or it's just going to any of the popular social media platforms and putting out a question and then you get answers. Now, when it comes to health, do you believe that health should be traditional? You should go to the doctor to go and speak to someone, or is it okay to just go online and get medical advice, get medical help by the online space or the online medical community? There's a lot of debate, especially when it comes to factual information, the role of influencers, and verification of medical facts. To discuss the whole online being convenient or maybe traditional being the right way forward when it comes to the medical profession. I have with me an obstetrician and gynecologist in the person of Dr. Tokwe Omotoyinbo. Welcome to Rubbing Minds.
Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me.
It's our pleasure to have you here. So when it comes to the whole online doctors, is it a compromise? Are we really compromising, or should we be looking at convenience? Because when the numbers are shocking, how little we have in way of medical professionals to our large population. So should we be embracing this online medical help, or are we compromising in any way?
Okay, thank you for the question. I believe there should be a moderation between seeking help or medical advice outside the confines of the hospital, because there are some, we can go overboard. But sometimes it's necessary that people get quick response to their questions before they seek medical advice, or before they can get to the hospital. So there's a level of moderation that we should achieve, so that we do not go on too extreme, especially outside the confines of medical professionals giving the advice.
So when you say moderation, where do you draw the line? Because these days you can ask AI and you can say, AI, I have a headache, ChatGPT. What should I take? And AI can say, well, go and take maybe 2 tablets of paracetamol, and then you go ahead and do that. Who's going to moderate the AI? Who's going to moderate what comes up in searches? Who's moderating some of your professionals who are now health influencers?
Okay. I think there's a level at which there are some issues that can only be addressed inside the hospital. For example, surgeries. Some people, they believe like fibroid in my own profession, my own specialty. Fibroid, some people use medical apps for fibroids. But there are some conditions that can only be addressed by surgery. In such cases, it is best to visit the hospital, because people can overdo things. Sometimes people put past corrosive agents into their private part and it comes together. So there are some conditions that can only be addressed by surgery, like hernias can only be addressed by surgery. In such cases, no apps can address that. So in such cases, they have to go to the hospital. But some maybe how to be hygienic can be offered on other platforms like the AI and social media. How to be hygienic, some things that will not involve taking drugs. So when it involves taking drugs, it should be addressed by professionals who have been trained in those areas.
It's interesting you should mention, use of herbs in treating some ailments. When we do have medically published information online, it doesn't always get the traction. But when you have something packaged, maybe somebody mixing the herbs, coming to give a testimonial of how these herbs has cured maybe the fibroids or a particular ailment, more people are willing to go with that. Why do you think there's such a disconnect between what is published formally and what is seen as traditional medicine, and when you have this alternative medicine?
I believe we are still deeply cultural in this part of the world. And people will go more with offers that we tell them about what to do and things that are passed down. For example, people have used one apps and they have testimonials about how effective it was. So people can easily get attached or attracted to such comments compared to having words or maybe scientific journals that were written in English or in scientific language that people cannot relate to. So it's about relatability. So people can relate to these apps and testimonial stories from people who have used it before, and they are able to give a response whether it's true or not. Sometimes some of these things are not really effective, but if they have one or two people that can give maybe allude to whether they've used it before, people are really willing to use it themselves. So I believe that's why we also, as influencers, we must also try to borrow from this pattern that people are using to put testimonials into our content, to put more stories to our content, to also say it in languages that people can understand. People not only in English, and we have a couple of people who are speaking, addressing people, giving information in Yoruba, in Pidgin, in Hausa language, so that people can relate to it. I believe this is a very nice approach.
And another issue why some people might want to turn to online doctors or online medical health influencers is simply cost. When they think about how much you're going to spend on transportation to get to the hospital, probably wait for hours to be seen, and then they have all sorts of monies to be paid, do this test, buy these drugs, you have to be admitted. Then they're like, why do I have to spend all that money when I can just get it for a fraction online?
Yes, you are very correct. People will put more preference on cost and convenience. People can easily take out your phone and get information online compared to when you have to travel all over, wait on a queue to see doctors who are overworked. Sometimes they can't even explain some things for you. They can't express the way you want to. Everybody wants to be cared for personally, regardless of how many patients they have on ground. So when you are approaching them, when you are treating them, when you are giving them some medical advice or prescribing drugs, you have to go into detail. But sometimes doctors are not able to do it because of they have a queue of patients they have to address. So people are really able to, when they are able to access this information at their own convenience, they easily go for that. And sometimes the cost of care, cost of surgery, for example, people prefer to, as I've said, people prefer to use herbs for some things that can only be addressed by surgery because they felt, why should I pay for this when I can easily get a drug that can treat it? When you see people coming to the hospital, there are some conditions that they will tell you, doctor, you tell them this is what we want to do for this. This thing will require surgery. They will tell you, there is no drug that can cure it. It's like having a clothes that is torn and you are using drugs to cure. That cannot address the situation. There are some things that can solely be addressed by surgery, and there's a line that we can draw in between those ones and other things that can be addressed pharmacologically or with drugs.
So where do we draw the line between what is working and what isn't, in the sense that a lot of times people go online and they see that all these other things are working, and yet you're coming here to say, oh, these things are not working, these things are not, and it's like, oh, but my grandmother did it, my great-grandmother did this, my great-grandmother did it. So how are they able to know, okay, it didn't work or it actually did? Because that confusion tends to be there. No matter how much content you create to try and say, oh, this thing you must do is surgery, there's always someone that has a story or a relative that can prove otherwise.
Okay, thank you for the question. Some of these measures that people take outside orthodox medicine just give temporary relief, and sometimes the long-term effect. For example, some apps, it can cause kidney damage in the long run. So people may not picture that because they want immediate relief for their conditions. But sometimes some of these other measures can cause a long-term complication. So there's a line we should draw. For example, case of that can be addressed by surgery, or incurable diseases that can only be managed, that cannot be cured. Sometimes people have breast cancer and they use herbs. They feel like I'm relieved. Over in the next maybe 1-2 years, it recurs because it's not addressed. It's just a temporary relief. So sometimes some of these things might work, but they have not been proven, or the extent to which they work is just minimal. And sometimes they may, people may have different etiologies, but their measures can only address one part, but leaves another part, which may be the more dangerous part. So sometimes all these measures are not, it's not that they really work, but they just give temporary relief. And people, when they see something that is bitter, they feel like something that's bitter, something that shakes their body a bit, they feel like I'm okay. Something, sometimes some of these apps that we talk about, some people put orthodox medicine inside it. Some people put something that are really actually medical advice. They put it inside those combinations. So all those things, when someone is having pain and the content that you use, maybe an herb has been mixed with something, maybe a drug, gives a temporary relief for the pain, the person feels, I'm okay, I'm better. But in the long run, the things can recur or cause more complications.
So there's a need for education. Would you say that the medical community is doing enough to educate people so that they don't end up making these mistakes? Or even if they choose to opt for these medicines, they know that, oh, this is just a temporary relief, or there are side effects to these things?
Okay. Thank you very much for the question. I believe we are doing a lot, but it's not yet enough. You need more people to go into this space, and there should be a balance, like a tug of war. When you pull negative or inappropriate information and appropriate ones, there should be a balance. So more health professionals should go outside. Sometimes people who are health content creators. For example, I run a women's health on Twitter. So you see some people coming up, even other medical professionals coming up and say, why are you giving this information to the people? But I believe that more people should come on board and address this condition so that people will have enough information to choose from. I believe we are doing a lot. People are, as I've said earlier, people are engaging content with stories, with comedies, with native languages, so that people can really relate with this. So we are doing a lot, but more people should come on board. And the like you are doing now is a very commendable material and should be continued. Thank you.
Thank you. How much do you see technology replacing some of the work that you're doing? Because you mentioned that you're on X, you're providing advice. What's next tomorrow? AI can do exactly everything that you're doing. How much do you see technology maybe even replacing the medical profession in the coming years?
I believe there might be a very substantial, I won't call it replacement, but it's still a work in progress, and it's still collaborative. So I believe it will not totally eliminate the need for physical doctors, but it's still collaborative. For example, if you seek information on maybe a GPT or any AI, they tell you after the information they give you, consult doctors. So there's still a reference, a referral to the doctor. So it can't absolutely replace the profession, but there will be a collaborative effort between the doctors and these AI innovations. So it can't totally eliminate. There will still be areas that we need to come in and do the physical. For example, surgery. AI, no matter how
you don't think we'll have robots that would go and perform these surgeries?
Robots, even while they perform surgeries, still under the supervision of a doctor. There's still a human face behind those robots that are working. So they can't absolutely replace the medical professionals.
Do you ever feel threatened? Do you feel that less people would depend on you, your advice, seek your services, or do you welcome the rapid adoption of technology in this space?
Yes, I think it should be something that should be adopted, because we ourselves, we use AI for some information, and it can also help. For example, people can easily release the workload on the doctors. But when the people really need doctors to come in, they will come in. But at the point, some AI can still give some preliminary measures people can take and also inform them about their health. But still, they cannot totally replace the need for medical professionals.
Yeah. Even when you're being advertised to drugs, they always say after certain days, consult a doctor. So there's always going to be that need to consult a doctor. Whether that will happen physically within the confines of a hospital or will happen online on a social media platform, the role of the doctor, from what you said, is unreplaceable and is still critical even with the adoption of technology. Thank you very much, Dr. Tokpe Omotoyibo, for sharing your views and contributing to the conversation.
You're welcome.